Hello everyone, welcome to Pixel Village and I'm Radhakrishanan. In this video, we're going to talk about a flash meter. What is a flash meter and how to use it? When we shoot outdoors in available light situations, we make use of the in-camera exposure meter. With the help of the histogram, we further assess the exposure. It is true even with a TTL controlled flash system. But when we move indoors, by moving indoors I mean when we move into a studio setup, the scenario changes. In the studio, we usually work with a different set of flashes, different type of flash, which are not usually TTL flashes. You have to individually set each flash and measure it and expose it. In a studio situation, guesswork may not be the right way to go about when you decide on an exposure. Here we have a typical studio setup and we go there and we set up one by one each light and demonstrate to you how a flash meter is used and what are the advantages. So let's get on with the shoot. Let me introduce to you the setup. We have three studio flashes here. They are from Godox, the QT602s. There are two soft boxes and one is with a standard reflector and a grid on it. And we have a few reflectors too. Well, of course, we have a model. For a change, we have a rather obedient one this time. She's not going to move till the end of the shoot. This is not a video on the flash meter and its features, but this is a video on how to use the flash meter and why one should use the flash meter. When we use a meter like this to meter continuous light, sunlight, any kind of continuous light source, you call this a light meter. And when you use this meter in a different menu setting to measure a flash, this will be called a flash meter. Unlike the in-camera exposure meter that reads the reflected light, a flash meter reads the incident light and gives you an exposure value which is equivalent to an 18% gray reading. Now, this dome, it's called a 3D dome, which sits on top of the exposure meter, reads the incident light and gives you a corresponding aperture value. And all you need to do is to set that value in your camera and shoot. There is one more way of taking reading of using this flash is by retracting this dome inside, which means it will not give you a three-dimensional reading. It will give you reading from only one direction. It will not take into consideration the reflected light that is this light is causing. We use this kind of reading when you are shooting, say, flat surfaces, products, certain flat products, for example. But when you are shooting, let's say, for example, in this case, our model, rather obedient model, we keep the dome in this 3D position. Okay. Now, like in the camera, even in the flash meter, there are three major controls: the ISO, the shutter speed, and the aperture control, which is of course an f-stop. Here in the studio, what we are interested is in finding the appropriate or an accurate aperture value, because you've already decided to work on a particular ISO. Shutter speed cannot be changed because you're going to work with the sync speed or the synchro speed of your camera. You can't go above that. And all you need to find is the aperture value. So let's start with a single light setting first. Nikhil, can you come over and move these two lights and let's work with only one light. Okay, now we have our beautiful model and one light. This is an old meter that we had in the studio and we recently acquired a new one, the latest from SEKONIC. Thank you, Nikhil. It's called the L858D SPEEDMASTer. The advantage with this SPEEDMASTer is that it's all digital. It's got touch controls and it's the latest from SEKONIC. It's got tons of controls on it, lots of features. We'll go through the features one by one in another video, but here we will use it for measuring this simple light setup. Like I mentioned earlier, I've set the ISO value to 100 and I'm going to take this flash reading. Okay, I'm going to face this dome towards the flash and I'm going to take a reading here. Yes. Okay. It's 11. 100 ISO, 11. Now this light, like I said, is giving a fill light here, though it is about 3, 4, 5 stops under for this light. I'm still going to switch it off so that you guys can actually see the way the camera will see. Okay, Nikhil, can you switch off the working light? Okay, so this is the kind of contrast that we have in our image. So let's read the shadow. Okay, flash please. Okay, it's about just over 2.8, and give me the background reading. Fire, F4, one more, F4. Okay, so I'm going to shoot at F11 and see what happens, and I'm going to use a Nikon D850 with a 50 mm lens. Okay, as expected. Let me see it in full screen. Nice. The key light at f11 has exposed the skin properly. The shadow is really deep and the background has gone gray, exactly as expected. Now this is where a professional commercial photographer make use of this tool very effectively. Very unlike, let's say, a wedding photographer or an amateur or an enthusiast or a passionate photographer. His images are used in, the commercial advertising photographers' images are used in almost all possible medium. Besides that, a commercial photographer is actually translating an art director's or a creative person's idea into an image. Now, he has a set of vision, a set ideas that he has briefed him before the shoot, and he wants the image to be in a particular way. Now, to achieve that, you need to measure the light. You can't really do a guesswork. These images needs to be, like I said earlier, needs to be reproduced in all possible medium. So it has to be within a certain range of exposures so that it can be reproduced very comfortably everywhere, from a newsprint to the best possible printing medium. He will definitely make use of the dynamic range of the sensor, but he will keep his exposures within a certain range because all print mediums cannot really reproduce everything that you've shot. Okay, so that actually calls for another video, from an image to a print. We'll talk about it soon. So here 11 is the key light exposed very well, and you have the shadow which is just under 4, but still there is some information. Some area is black but not completely gone into deep rich black. So I'm going to say my shadows are going to be within 3 stops of the key light. So for which there are 2 things that I can do. I can bring in a reflector or I can bring another light. I'm going to bring in another light. Nikhil, can you come switch on the second light and start filling the shadow and give me a reading of f4. We will adjust the brightness in such a way that we get an exposure value of f4. One thing that you need to be careful about taking the second flash reading is you need to cut the dome from this light, otherwise it'll actually complicate the reading. So I'm going to cut it and I'm going to read only this. Fire please. Okay, now it is f4. Let's take a shot. That's my second image. The shadow is filled to my satisfaction. Now let's look at both the images together. So this is the histogram of the first image, which lots of contrast. You can see the black closer to 0 value, and here you can see the black slightly shifted, opened up, and now I know that my shadow area is well within the range that I wanted to. It'll get a little more complicated when I add a third light. In this case, I'm going to add a rim light. Okay, Nikhil, can you bring in the rim light? Okay, switch it on. Nice. Now, for that rim light to be a rim light, it has to be brighter than my key light, which means I need to meter it and make sure that it is not more than 1.5 to 2 stops above my key light or my camera exposure setting. So I'm going to take a reading here. I'm going to cut this from all other lights. I'm going to read only this light. Okay, fire. Okay, you need to increase the power a little. Go up. Okay, fire again. Okay, this is now 1.5 stop over. Let's take a shot. When I say 1.5 stop over, it means my key light is 11, my fill light is 4, and that is 16.5. Okay. If you look at the histogram, nothing is getting overexposed, right? Let's try and increase the rim light a little more. Can you increase it by, let's say, one more stop? Okay, fire. No, it's too much. Bring it down. Fire again. Okay, now I have 22. I'm going to overexpose the highlights by 2 stops. Okay. We still have information in the skin, and in the highlight area, I still have enough information. If I move my cursor around, I can see the position where the highlight is, which is somewhere here, which is well within the 255 limits. Let's try and push it up by a little more. Okay, Nikhil, increase it a little more. Fire. Yes, 32. Okay, the lights please. Okay, I'm looking at the final image. I have not touched the key light and the fill light. I am interested now in the highlight. Highlight here at this point is very close to the 255. Now imagine a condition where I am not metering it, I am going by my eye. I am going by what I am seeing either on the screen or on the LCD monitor, and I am going only by the histogram. Okay. What will have happened is that by the time this image goes through first a processing, second an image retouching, and then a digital pre-press processing, and by the time it reaches a print station, you will have lost information in the highlight. It would have gone completely cut out. So if you know where it's going to be printed, you can select an appropriate proportions for this exposure. Because as a pro photographer, like I said, your duty is to translate someone else's idea into print or onto a screen, and for which you need to understand and record all the levels in a particular proportion. If you have a meter, you will be able to do it perfectly well. You can choose the working aperture, you can choose what the shadows got to be, and you can select what the highlight's going to be. So if you go back and look at all 3 images alongside, you can see the difference. Before you actually get into the shoot itself, you can decide where you want to expose, what should be the shadow, and what should be the highlight. If you don't have a meter, you will only keep guessing and putting a lot of people into a lot of stress. So, do you really need a flash meter? I have this friend who is a very good photographer, always wanted to break into this pro commercial photographer league. He is really capable. He has some of the best equipment that money can buy. I keep seeing his pictures and I see that he would become technically perfect if he start metering his images well. So I recommended that he should get a flash meter at the earliest opportunity. Not that a flash meter is a gateway to becoming a professional commercial photographer, but it'll bring in certain work discipline that is required to be qualified in that league. I'm not patronizing anyone here. I'm trying to explain the kind of effort that I took on my way to becoming a commercial advertising photographer. I met this friend again after 6-7 months. I asked him, did you buy a Flashmeter? He showed me his new bike and said, I bought this. Of course, the Flashmeter doesn't cost so much, but still he opted for a bike instead of a Flashmeter. Now the question is again, do you need a Flashmeter? And you want to get the exact exposure values, then this is the way to go. To the rest, there's a motorbike waiting. Bye for now.